We're going to make Easter tea ring. It's actually a fruit coffee cake, and you can use many different types of fruits in it. I went ahead and actually made the dough in my bread machine. Now you can make it by hand if you prefer, but this is the recipe to make the dough. You're going to need 6 tablespoons of milk at room temperature, 1 egg that is beaten, 2 cups of bread flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter melted and cooled, and 1 teaspoon of active dry yeast. And that's actually to make the dough that I have on my counter. What I did was I took it out of my bread machine on just the dough cycle, of course, and then I just shaped it into a square. What we want to do now is actually roll it out with a rolling pin to about 12 inches by 18 inches long. I put some flour on my board ahead of time, and I brought my ruler out just to be able to guide myself on the size. You want to try to keep it as rectangle as possible. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, but try to make it as even and rectangle as possible. It's going to shrink back on you a little bit, so just stay with it. I'm going to just measure this. Okay, looks like that'll do it. You want to do it about 12 by 18. So if it's not quite exact, just use your fingers to stretch it out a little bit. Now once you do that, you're going to make the filling. And before the filling goes down, you're going to need actually melted butter. And that's going to be a tablespoon. So just take a brush, a pastry brush, and start to apply the butter all over the dough. Put it on as even as possible. And that was 1 tablespoon of melted, unsalted butter that's been at room temperature and cooled. Alright, now once you do that, you're going to need, of course, a bowl to put your filling in. So we're going to start off with a 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar in the bowl. Just going to break that up a little bit. You're going to put 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon in, 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, and again just start breaking up your brown sugar and start mixing this together. You're going to need 1/3 cup of raisins. If you prefer golden raisins, go ahead and use those. I'm just using the dark raisins. And the last thing that you're going to put in is 1/2 cup, which I chopped up, of dried pineapple. Now you could use dried cherries if you'd like. Leave a few of the pieces left over because that's going to be for your garnish. And then just mix this in a bowl with a spoon. And once you do that, you're just going to actually just layer this all over the dough. And just sprinkle it on. Try to have it come out as even as possible with the fruit and the raisins. Try to keep it from the edge if you can, about a half an inch or a quarter of an inch to the edge, and just sprinkle this all on. Try to get it as even as possible with the fruits and the spices and the brown sugar. And there we go. Now once you do that, you actually want to start rolling it on the long end. And you're going to roll it like jelly roll style. And just tuck it as you go along. And just keep rolling it that jelly roll style. Try to keep it as even as possible. If it's getting a little too bulky in one area, just kind of start pushing that filling or that mixture to where you need it to be. I'm almost at the end here. You want it to actually end up where the seam is on the bottom of the coffee cake, and then just take your hands and start squeezing that so that you can seal that bottom, so when it bakes it doesn't have a way of seeping out. The next thing that you're going to do is just actually take it and start forming it in a circle or a ring, and then just with a tablespoon of milk or so with your pastry brush, brush the ends and then bring them together and seal that ring off from the top to the middle and to the bottom, because you want them to bake together. And this usually does take just a few minutes to do this, to seal it. Now this coffee cake will yield anywhere from 8 to 10 pieces depending on how you cut it. You're going to bake this at 400 degrees, and you're going to bake it for anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes, but I would start watching it at about 15 minutes. You're going to need a heavily greased pan to put it in to bake. Just trying to get that sealed properly. Sometimes it just doesn't want to do that, so I'm trying to really pinch that in there. So I've got my pan with the shortening on it, and now I'm going to lay that in the center of where I have my shortening, still bringing that together. The next thing that you're going to do is you're actually going to need a scissors, and what you're going to do is for every 1.5 inches, you're going to cut about 2/3 of the way into your coffee cake. Do that all around, but skip where your seam is. Don't cut where your seam is. Now once you do that, just take it and then pull, almost bring these sides sideways. So when they bake, they'll open up nicely for you. Put a towel over that and let that get double in size, and that's going to take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. But put a towel on top. Then once it's doubled, you know to put it in your oven. And I went ahead and baked one to show you the finished product. As far as making a glaze, I would start off with about 2 cups of powdered sugar and maybe a 1/3 cup of water, and then just use by tablespoon to make the glaze or sugar topping that you'd like. And here you go. Easter tea ring coffee cake. This one's made of pineapple. Again, use any type of fruit that you prefer. Hope you like this recipe. Give it a try. And if you do, let me know how you made out with the recipe. Like to hear your comments. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.